Well, let's talk about your story a little bit. I understand entrepreneurship was a big part of your millionaire success early on in life. So tell us how that came to be and how you did that.
Yeah, that's very fair. After I just got done saying, getting wealthy takes time, I'm talking about how I did it slightly faster. Although even my story, it took, well over a decade, right? And so yeah, I started an internet company when I was in college, basically my last year of college, and I sold at the age of 34 for just over $5 million. But that was 12 years, and that was 12 years of me basically doing exactly what I'm preaching now, which was I was living way below my means. The most I ever paid myself at that internet company was $36,000 a year, and that wasn't just like some like clever tax thing, like the way Mark Zuckerberg pays himself $1 or something like that. Like that was literally like that's all the money I took out of the company was $36,000 a year. That was living in high cost of living San Diego. And then I was hiring people. Like we had 7 employees, including myself, when I sold the company, and most of those employees were like software engineers. A lot of them were making 6 figures, and so I was paying these people really well, but I was doing it because I was trying to aggressively grow, right? And so, and in college, I turned down a job offer from Microsoft to go be a software engineer for Microsoft. Had I taken that job offer from Microsoft, lived on that same exact $36,000 a year and just poured money into an index fund, my outcome would have been pretty darn similar. I think I ended up a little bit better because I did like, take the risk of starting a company and got the reward. But still that time was 12 years between when I started my company and when I sold it. And that time was a grind. And for years, like the first 3 years, I basically was making like the company was making virtually no money. And I was just grinding. I was trying to figure it out. And I wasn't doing an especially great job. But, the thing that I could credit young Jeremy with was just persistence or bullheadedness or stubbornness or whatever, because I just didn't give up. And so, yeah, I'm a huge fan of entrepreneurship, but even entrepreneurship, it takes time. It's a grind, and still you have to, still have to follow those rules. Like if I was borrowing a bunch of money and like running up credit cards and saying takes money to, or spend money to make money, I think I would have gone out of business, right? I was trying to like spend less money than I make, both personally and with the business, and stay persistent over time.
I love it. Well, I mean, so to your point, the combination of maybe decreasing that time frame from 40 years is investing in index funds, sticking with it, but then on the other side, you're setting and forgetting the index funds. On the other side, what can you do to increase your income? What can you do to do great at work or grow your own business? So maybe it's a hybrid of both those things, which you did in your life as well. Would you agree?
Totally. And the 40-year thing, like there's nothing, it doesn't need to be 40 years. Like I use 40 years just because that's like the typical ish career length from like 25 to 65 or so. But if you invest half of your income, like you were talking about growing your income. So there's like how much you make, how much you spend. The gap between those two things is like your wealth building fire hose, right? The bigger you make that gap, either by decreasing expenses or increasing income, the faster you're going to get there. So if you of the money you take home, if you spend half of it and then you invest half of it, 15 years later, your investments will have grown to be large enough to live on those investments forever, right? So, and that doesn't work for everyone. If you're making minimum wage and you have 2 kids, like you can't live on half your income. Like that's basically impossible in the United States. Like, but if you're making like 80,000, are there some people who make 40,000 to live? Yep. Like there are. If you're making 100,000, are there some people who make 50,000 and live successful lives? Yep. And so, you get to choose. And if you're making 60,000 and you pick up a side hustle for, $200 a week, that's $800 a month, that's $10,000 a year. Is that going to get you a lot closer to, that 50% savings rate? Definitely. And so, yeah, that decreasing of income or decreasing of expenses, increasing of income, getting more money to invest, that's how you get there faster. But, looking for shortcuts like day trading GameStop, in my opinion, is not likely to get you there faster.
I hear you. Well, let's talk about what happened after the company sold. What did you do with that extra money? I guess that's a big moment in your life, being like, am I going to double down on another business? Am I going to get into real estate, stock market? What did you do?
Yeah, so I was 34 and I sold my company. I had $5 million. My share was about $3 million. I sent $1 million because I owned 70% of the company at that time. I sent $1 million to the state of California and federal governments, so I was left with $2 million. So 5 million turns to two pretty quick. And I actually started reading like basically every book I could on investing to try to figure out how not to blow this money. And I had been kind of like a casual investor for like my, young adulthood. And so I like bought some stocks, bought some mutual funds, didn't really know why or what I was buying. I started reading all these books and I was like, oh, the market's efficient. All that guessing I'm doing is nonsense. I should just be buying the total market, minimizing my fees. And I also knew that timing the market was a fool's errand. And so, yeah, there's one day in 2015 where I basically just I dumped like, about $2 million into the stock market in one day because I knew that, I could have dollar cost averaged it in. That would have been fine, but that would have, not been a more likely scenario for success. I just one day, it's kind of crazy too, because like I was like, a few months earlier, I was living on $36,000 a year. And so like, I remember poring over decisions for $100. Like I remember I bought a set of speakers that were $100, in 2014 or something. And I just like, for weeks, I was like, oh, is this a waste of money? Do I really need the speakers? And then, but then based on the math in 2015, I went to Fidelity and I clicked buy with millions of dollars into these index funds. And I just left them. And, actually it went down for a while. If you can look at like between like, I think it was like May and December of 2015, the market went down and like, I think I lost, whatever, 5 or 10% or something. It wasn't a huge crash, just kind of like a little drawback. But I knew the math and then I've stuck it out. And of course, now have a lot more money, more than double.
That's incredible. That's incredible. What does your future look like right now, Jeremy? You've got a growing business right now, and you've got a incredible net worth at your age. So what are your personal goals as you look forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really boils down to like those two things I look for in life, which is to be happy and help people. And, the thing that I like doing is just helping people with personal finance. And so, yeah, in 2019, I started an Instagram account where I was just, actually I was dating a girl at the time and she asked, she asked me what you just asked me, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like, what are you doing with your life? And not in like a negative way. She wasn't like criticizing me, but she's like, you have this like endless opportunity. And I said, the thing I would like to do is basically help people with personal finance. I'd like to have like either a podcast like you do or like a Netflix show or whatever. And so then and she was like, that's not crazy. Like, you know this stuff really well and you're, smart guy that knows how to start stuff. And so that's what I did. I started Personal Finance Club and I started an Instagram account, and it wasn't even necessarily, in fact, it definitely wasn't designed to be a business. It was just designed to like be this rich guy's hobby where I could, and by the way, I'm not that rich, but I guess early retiree's hobby, where I could just share my knowledge and help people. And it's just what I love doing. Yeah. And that's what I've done to this day, and actually kind of did morph into a business 2 years later when I finally started deciding to sell something.
That's incredible. Well, you call it boring, but how many followers do you have on Instagram right now?
I think I have 260 or 270,000 followers.
So I don't think they find it boring, my friend.
They think it's, there's like 14-year-olds who like, who knows what, they like pull pranks on people and have 20 million followers. So it's a tiny drop in the ocean of, just a drop of people who are like, hey, boring might actually be successful.